What should I play next? No. Definitely not. Too long. Boring. Wait, what's this? Oh, this looks pretty cool. Let's dive in and see if this is worth our precious gaming hours. In my ever-encroaching old age, my reflexes these days are more grandpa naps than lightning fast. Does anyone else remember the golden days of Modern Warfare 2? The nostalgia of coming home after a hard day of school, sitting down in front of the television pooning noobs with nukes. But these days, Battle Royale games are more of a stress fest than a good time, so playing the finals is going to be interesting for me. A twitchy, fast-paced competitive Battle Royale sounds like a recipe for a midlife crisis, but actually I was pleasantly surprised. Developed by Embark Studios, the finals is described as a world-famous, free-to-play, combat-centered game show. Fight alongside teammates in virtual arenas that you can alter, exploit, or even destroy. The finals is a first-person shooter, blending its own style of FPS with tropes of existing games on the market. Imagine a blend of Rainbow Six Siege, Battlefield, and Fortnite, all stirred together in a wonderful cocktail of excitement. Even the UI itself screams Overwatch and Apex Legends, and the in-game color scheme uses a bright, overblown contrast, just like Mirror's Edge. I clocked in just over 20 hours on this bad boy, and it was a rollercoaster of fun, with some frustrations, and don't worry, I'll cover those as well. So let's get right into it and talk about the game modes. There's two main flavors that you'll likely be playing when you first start out, these being Cash Out mode, the clear star of the show, pun fully intended, and Terminal mode, which is basically an R6 Siege clone, and there's a few more non-optional ranked game modes as well to fill the time. For me, Cash Out mode is where it's at, and this was the most enjoyable mode by far. 4 teams of 3, battling it out in a game show style frenzy. Secure a vault with your 2 teammates, defend it and rake in the cash while dodging enemy fire and random chaos. It's like Big Brother, but with assault rifles. If you and your squad are good enough to pass the first round, you'll knock out 2 of the 4 teams below you. Moving on to another round of 4 team winners. Knock those out as well and you'll be going head to head as one of 2 teams battling for a final 3v3 victory to close out the tournament. It's an interesting way to present a battle royale and a team-based shooter, and I really enjoyed it. That feeling of a game show is something that the finals manages to achieve really well, and when you start a game you'll be greeted by 2 commentators filling the time as the map loads, and it almost feels like a football match, which works really well for a competitive esports title.
And we're live from Kyoto! Watch as our contestants navigate the stunning landscapes and architecture to bring home the win!
Starting a game and hearing the crowd going wild as the commentators introduce the competitors, and seeing each team lining up is really awesome. I'm a really big fan of esports and competitive games as well, so this is right up my alley. Whether I consider myself good at these games is another story though. Once you've loaded into the arena, you'll spawn in with your teammates to work together, fighting toward and opening a vault on the map. These spawn at random, and unless it's the final round, you'll be fighting over 2 of them, allowing all 4 teams to get a solid chance at winning. When you do go near a vault, you'll need to activate it and defend it until it dissolves, spitting out glorious cash dollar.
The live wires grab the cash box.
While all of this cash money chaos is erupting across the map, you'll also experience random events, which cause slight variations in gameplay, helping to keep each run fresh. Before the game starts, a random modifier is selected, ranging from absolutely nothing at all to meteor strikes raining hell, death and tears down on any contestant caught in the blast. Or you might even see orbital lasers, the AFK checker. Stand still and you'll be melted. There's a total of 6 maps available at the time of writing this, and each one has its own set of random modifiers on top of the random events that we've just discussed. One map might have floating shipping containers in the air, prompting a more aerial battle-focused gameplay, whereas another map might have whole sections replaced with a construction site, which is pretty cool. This variance in gameplay allows things to feel fresh and fruity every time, and while not changing the dynamic enough just to still uphold individual player development and skill, which keeps things fair. And this is another one of my favourite aspects of the finals, keeping the game fair but also varied enough to stave off boredom, and I think the developers nailed down this aspect really well. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows, or should I say, orbital lasers and shipping containers. The problem with Cash Out mode is the fact that you're no longer playing the main ranked mode. Instead, if you want to play competitively, you'll be forced into the slower, completely different Terminal mode, which is a huge flaw in my opinion. I think the idea behind this was that the developers wanted to keep ranked feeling exciting by changing the game mode each season. But this completely goes against the overall design of introducing small, slight changes to add variance, while still establishing a baseline of skill and progression. Thankfully, the developers have already stated that cash out mode is coming back for Season 4, so we've got that to look forward to. I have no idea what's going to happen to Terminal mode though. In terms of rank mode itself, like I said, I have no desire to play Terminal, so I've not touched it, and I don't intend to until Season 4 is out. Anyway, back to the gameplay. Attacking and defending in cash out feels really fun. It's got tension reminiscent of Battle Royale games and allows for some serious player creativity, more than I'm used to seeing from recent titles. It's almost like playing Mirror's Edge multiplayer, and it's really hard to overstate just how fucking cool this is, especially when it works flawlessly like it does in the finals. In-game you'll have 3 classes to choose from: Light, Medium and Heavy, which are in a sense like roles from Overwatch or Team Fortress 2. The Light class paves the way for the speedy, sneaky approach, popping out of thin air to chop your opponent in half with a sword, or take their nuts off with a shotgun blast. The medium class plays best as a well-rounder, allowing for a healing, long-range poke support type of player. And this is the category I often find myself in when I play these types of games. And finally the heavy, the tank of the group, smashing walls with sledgehammers, popping barriers to keep your team alive and cooking enemies with flamethrowers and grenade launchers. None of these classes are explicitly required in any matchup. Teamwork, however, is required if you want to nab that final spot. Each class has its own selection of weapons, equipment and abilities that you can use to turn the tide of a fight. The light class allows for stealth cloaking or a grappling hook to get to hard to reach areas. The medium class gets a healing beam for, well, healing, and even a dematerializer, which lets you literally remove parts of the environment for a short period of time. Or you could choose the turret, which when combined with 2 more turrets on the enemy team, made me want to choke myself to death. The heavy again goes one step further, granting access to battlefield molding abilities like charge and slam to take out walls and floors. Or even a goo gun to spray whatever the hell this is to block tight corridors and spaces. Depending on your choice of class, you'll be able to pick weapons and equipment as well, ranging from shotguns to assault rifles, incendiary and smoke grenades, or even swords and bow and arrows if you want to pretend like you're playing Skyrim. There's a good amount of player agency and flexibility when it comes to build variety, and this is something I think the finals does really well. All of these equipment choices are linked to an in-game progression system, which allows the player to earn and unlock their gear with in-game currency, rather than having to shell out real cash to buy a new weapon, or unlock 700 tiers of a battle pass for a new ability. There is a battle pass system, but I'll talk about that later. So let's get into the weeds a little bit and talk about the movement mechanics. Like I said, they're really well implemented and remind me a lot of the fluidity of Mirror's Edge. Holding down the spacebar will allow you to automatically vault over objects and obstacles, but timing your button presses perfectly allows you to perform actions faster, and this adds a nice skill ceiling. A good example of this is when you use the medium class's turret ability, which allows you to stick a turret down for covering fire. When you move out of range, you'll need to recall the turret, which resets the cooldown, and you can do this remotely. Just press the ability and swipe right like you're on Tinder. Holding the button down here does nothing, but carefully pressing the turret button to pull out the tablet and then hitting the right mouse button to recall the turret allows you to perform a sequence of events much faster if you time it right. When combining all of these choices and mechanics together, you're able to run, jump, dive, or smash your way across the battlefield, and it feels really good when it all comes together. Combining this mechanic of timing with the fluidity of the movement system makes you feel like a small superhero, elbowing down doors, ziplining up fire escapes, sliding down the rooftop while simultaneously tippy-tapping on your tablet to recall your turret halfway across the map, and this feels nothing short of amazing. All of these small considerations come together to make you feel like you're using the environment as your own personal playground, and it feels awesome. And speaking of the environment, the finals has its own destruction mechanics, which were one of the game's biggest selling points on release, and in my opinion they're one of the best things about the game, which makes sense considering some of the developers behind the game moved away from DICE to work on the finals, so there's obviously some Battlefield legacy knowledge here. Ordnance can be dosed out in a hefty magnitude to cause damage to the arena and the environment, blasting away doors, walls, ceilings and floors, which opens up avenues for the creative, opportunistic players among you. Why would you go through the door when you can take the wall off? The use of environmental mechanics becomes even more apparent when you consider the level of class customization, and the finals has clearly been designed from the ground up with all of this in mind. These mechanics work a hell of a lot better than Battlefield 2042, that's for sure. So with all the good stuff out the way, let's talk about the UI, and some of the issues that I had with the game. Aside from the obvious ranked issue that we've already discussed, the UI itself is designed really well, and it looks and feels snappy, reminding me a lot of other games as a service titles like Overwatch, and it works really well most of the time. The main issue I had with this UI stems from the fact that a lot of choices require you to move back and forth between menus, more often than I would have liked. For example, rather than being able to pick your contestant or change your build from the equipment menu, you'll need to move to the main screen, go to the contestant menu and then change everything from there. It's not a huge deal, but the whole UI was a little bit obtuse when I first started, and it took me a few hours to get comfortable with it. After I did, it worked pretty much perfectly. And this leads me on to another issue. The stupid, and I mean really stupid, character creator. Holy hell, who would have thought that making a simple male or female character would just be so complicated? In the contestant menu, you'll have the option to change your appearance, but there isn't any specific gender menu, just two body shapes which look almost identical. Can you see much of a difference here? The game threw me in as a female to start with, which is fine, but when trying to change back to male, I literally had to use Google to figure it out. Why is it this complicated to have the word male at the bottom of the screen? Maybe I'm just thick as shit, but let me know. Did anyone else feel like this system was unnecessarily obtuse? When I did finally find out how to change my gender, the face options still contained female faces. In fact, most of the male faces look like women too. It's really not that hard, people. Character customization isn't something I'm usually concerned with, especially in a first-person shooter. But here it's really silly and complex for no real reason other than the fact that, you know, it's 2024. Genders don't exist anymore, right? And then, even after selecting my non-specifically male face option, I'm still stuck with 9 options without paying money. 3 of which look like actual male humans, and really if I wanted to be a white male, I've got one pretty ugly choice. And I'm not even going to mention the bug on release where the characters were using female voice lines, which makes this problem hilariously even worse. So with that out of the way, let's finish off by talking about the cosmetics and the longevity you can expect when playing the finals, because let's face it, it's a free-to-play title, there's got to be something, right? Well, I'm pleased to say that there aren't any gameplay features tied to cosmetics at all, at least none that I'm aware of. And this means that you can only unlock abilities, guns and equipment through playing the actual game and earning VR credits, so it's fair in that respect. Each new purchasable unlock costs around 1,000 credits, and completing one round of cash out netted me around this much, so you'll be able to unlock things easily and consistently. Like I said earlier, I've played about 20 hours so far, so I would assume that unlocking everything will take around 50 to 100 hours depending on how good you are and what modes you play. This might be something that annoys the more competitive, try-hard, buy-everything type of player, but for casuals like me and people who enjoy in-game progression, it'll keep you engaged, unlocking and experimenting with new items. The inevitable cosmetic purchases are okay as well. They're there for players who want to invest in the game to get that new look or style, or simply for people who want to support the developers. And these purchases won't impact yours or other people's gameplay in the slightest, except for the fact that I'm really disappointed I won't get my Daft Punk helmet. The Battle Pass, like I said, is also a thing. It has a bunch of cosmetic unlocks to keep you grinding. At around 20 hours I unlocked around 60 to 70% of it, which isn't that bad really. So outside of actually, you know, playing a game for fun, I'd say you'll be unlocking stuff for around 50 hours. Overall, considering the finals is completely free and everything in the game is unlockable, I really enjoyed my time with it, and I never felt pressured to purchase anything. Currently in Season 3, the developers have added new patch changes, new maps, weapons, and a battle pass, and Season 4 is likely just around the corner where Cash Out will be coming back for a new season of Ranked, which I'm actually pretty hyped for. I'll definitely be keeping this one installed because it really is that fun. The gameplay is solid, the sound, ambience, and overall game show aesthetic is fresh and interesting, and it's a great change of pace from some of the more gritty, realistic titles we've seen this year. I've enjoyed the finals, honestly, and a lot more than I was expecting to when I picked this one up off the shelf on a whim. So, I hope you enjoyed this short look into the finals. And let me know below, have you played it? What do you think of it? And are you looking forward to a Season 4? If you did enjoy this video, consider dropping me a like or subbing to the channel for more content like this. And as always, until next time, happy gaming.